The measure of our success will be the condition on which we leave the world for the next generation. Robert Redford. My guest in this episode of Passing the Torch is Dr. Keith Castille, aka KC, a distinguished CEO of C2H, connecting heads to hearts, and a dynamic leader recognized as a George W. Bush Stand to Veteran Leadership Program scholar. A proud U.S. Air Force veteran, Casey brings a powerful blend of military discipline and executive acumen to the fields of workforce education, human capital strategy, and innovation. With a career dedicated to transforming organizations through people, Casey is a sought-after talent strategist, executive coach, and global speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome veteran CEO, talent strategist, innovation leader. Passing the torch with KC starts now. First and foremost, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining me.
What's up, brother? What's up? Man, that was an impressive bio, man. Like, it's like when you read a medal and you're in the military, and you're like, is that me?
So there's a friend of mine does a podcast too. His name's Kerry Kite, the Veteran Made Pod. It's fantastic. He was on my show last year, and I did a bio about him, and he was like, "Did I send you this, or did you make it?" And I made it because I combined different parts of his websites and social medias, and I did the same thing with you. Kind of just took like, "Oh, that looks good."
Yeah, send that to me. I need to use that.
It's like the evals, right? Like, hey man, you write your eval? Yeah, let me check it out for a second, man.
I need that. And it wasn't AI-ish, so it was pretty cool.
No, yeah, I write a lot of this stuff, and because I feel like it helps me just get into the groove talking with a person, because rather than just generating like an AI summary, it just makes me feel like I get a vibe from it.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I love that.
Yeah, thanks. I also want to give you flowers. I want to start off by giving you kudos and just saying thank you. I know, like, we've briefly talked in person a couple times because we run into each other at conferences or the same circles, right? Truth be told, before today, we've only had maybe a handful of conversations. I remember talking to you in August of 2003 at AFSA in Dallas, maybe like 5 seconds, right? But like within our world, we're always 1 degree of separation from someone. So even though we didn't really know each other, we know all the same people. But I want you to know that I've been one of your biggest fans, and I often brag about you because I'm so proud of you. Thank you for what you're showing. Not just for our young enlisted airmen, but just our enlisted tier overall with the education, like you with the doctorate. Like, that is so impressive that I think sometimes people mislabel or don't give the enlisted corps, especially present day, about what we are accomplishing. So thank you just for giving us more credibility, more prestige. Thank you for setting a shining example. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, man. One, thank you. I appreciate those words. And, and it's very seldom, we get our flowers, and, you know how it is. It's just, we're just so used to doing, man, but it's great. It's great to hear it. I appreciate it. My wife would get mad at me at this time, because she was like, it's like watching your own kids. You don't get a trophy for that. I'm like, still, I made an effort, so but thank you so much, man. Working at the Pentagon, man, for 3.5 years, almost 4 years before I retired. I used to walk into rooms and I would be so upset that we did not have the education. We had the experience, right? Mm-hmm. But it was something about the education around the room that just got me. Like, the officers, they get opportunities to go to these schools. Harvard, my suite mate, basically, cubicle mate, he went to Harvard, and the captain that was in front of me, he was heading to Georgetown, and I was just like, man, like, I just want to be able to walk in that room and know that I bring something, and I bring it for the force who's doing the work, who's doing the heavy lifting. And if people can see themselves, in me and the things that I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing them justice, man. And I that's the reason why I did it. And plus, COVID was bad, and I found myself coming from Lackland to now in an environment where we weren't going in the office when we first when we first got here in the DMV. And it's just so much. It's just so much you can do in the so much drinking you can do in the daytime, right?
Yeah.
So no, but I felt myself kind of slipping into some negative behaviors, and my wife was like, "Hey, you're not being challenged," and then that's the reason why. The second reason why I decided to go that route, and it was to challenge myself, but also so people can see, themselves, in the things that I'm doing, so they can go back and do those things too, because we need it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
that's
no, that's
no, that's
awesome.
awesome.
One question
One
I like to
question I
open
like to
every
open every
podcast with
podcast
is,
with
why
is
is
why
life
is
great
life
right
great
now?
right now? I woke up this morning. I woke up this morning, man. I've shared, and you follow some things I've talked on, and I had someone that was very close to me, dear to me, who passed away suddenly. I speak on this in some of my teachings, that it happened, right, and it was something that happened where I didn't get to say goodbye. It was someone I cared for, planning a life together, and she passed. And I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to say I'm sorry, because we were in an argument at that particular time. And so I didn't get to go back, and I don't get to go back and redo that. And and I struggle. I continue to struggle through it, and I still get therapy for it, and um but I woke up this morning, and if I get an opportunity to wake up, man, and to be able to live life and to do some good for what God has created and for what God has placed and set a path for me, then I feel like that's what makes my life great.
I love
I
you. Thanks
love you.
for
Thanks for
sharing that.
sharing that.
That
That
partly drove
partly
my,
drove
my
my
reasoning for
reasoning for
retiring. I'm
retiring. I'm
43, I'll be
43. I'll be
44 this
44
year.
this year. You're just a baby.
I know,
I
man, I
know, man.
know.
I know. Um,
But my
but my
dad died
dad
when he
died
was
when he was
51 years
51 years
old,
old.
unexpected,
Yeah.
and last
Last
year at the
year, at
time
the
when I was
time when I was
42, I was
42,
thinking
I was
like, man,
thinking
if I
like,
had
man, if I
9
had
years
9
left to
years left to
live,
live,
how would I want
how
to
would I want
spend
to
that
spend that
life? So I've
life?
been
So I've been
trying,
trying,
and I actually wrote a
and I actually wrote
LinkedIn
a
post,
LinkedIn
or did a
post, or did
LinkedIn
a
post
LinkedIn
about it.
post about it.
But it was,
But it
to
was
your
to your
point,
point,
like, what are
like,
those
what are those
conversations I wish
conversations
I
I
had
wish I
with
had with
people?
people,
Or,
or
what am I,
what am
what do I
what
want to
do I
do?
want to
Like, go
do?
to
Like,
Europe
go to
was one
Europe
of
was
them,
one
right?
of them,
Which
right?
I just
Which I
did.
just did.
Um, and then
And then
there was a
there was a
general that just
general that
recently
just
passed
recently passed
away,
away,
and I
and
don't want to
I
say
don't
him
want to
his
say
name,
him his
but
name, but
a Space
a
Force
Space Force
general
general
who
who
I wasn't
I
super
wasn't
close
super
with, but
close
I had a
with, but I
great
had a great
rapport and
rapport and
relationship with.
relationship with.
And same
And
thing,
same
he
thing, he
just passed
just
away
passed away
suddenly,
suddenly,
and it's just
and it's
gut
just gut
punching, and it's just
punching, and
like,
it's just
man,
like,
we
man, we
cannot take
cannot
life for
take life for
granted.
granted.
But yeah.
Yeah, we can't. We can't.
I also want to
I
give you some
also want to give you
kudos
some
on why life
kudos
is
on
great,
why
just on a
life is
lighter
great, just
note.
on a lighter
Congrats
note.
on the
Congrats
George Bush
on the
program,
George Bush
and then
program,
congrats
and then
on
congrats
the
on
AFSA
the
position, right?
AFSA
You just got
position, right? You just got
nominated or elected for a
nominated or
new AFSA
elected for a
position.
new
Is that right?
AFSA position. Is that right? Yeah, yeah. And man, that was it was a surreal moment, man. Like, I'm in a room with individuals who've been in that business for years,
Yeah.
and I was one. I was called to serve. One of our good friends gave me a call and said, "Hey, I believe that you would be a good fit for this." And 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 I did some praying. I did some work, some research on it, and lo and behold, man, it was like boom, and I jumped in. I jumped in head first, and I feel like they saw my vision and where I'm trying to help and assist. Steve Harrow, who's the APSA IP man, and his vision is just so strong. And I fell in love with the vision. I fell in love with where he was heading. Also, with Keith Reed and what he's doing and where he's trying to take this in the future, right? And so, yeah, and I would tell you the George Bush thing. Oh man, like ever been through a process where you're not gonna get it, because the process is so long and it's like, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do this next
Yeah.
thing, and this next thing is coming. I'm like, oh man, it's just too many barriers, right? And then now that I got selected amongst 36 other phenomenal human beings. Literally the first day we all sitting around a table, and 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 I'm like, how am I sitting next to this guy who a gal, right, who done this amazing stuff and like, just who's just a hero. Like,
Yeah.
and then I tell my story, and they're like, how how am I sitting next to you? Like, you did all I'm like, And so I'm looking at what I've done. I'm like, I was in the Air Force, but no, it's, kind of talking some things we've done and, with teams, and it's just, it's an amazing journey. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just a vessel. Um, I may be doing the work and being the face of some of those things, but at the end of the day, it's about veterans and in our retiree community. It's about our democracy, man. That's one thing that the George Bush Foundation is teaching us right now. It's about democracy and how to continue to advance democracy and just be good human beings in our communities. Whatever party you in, right? I don't care if you're left, you're right. Just be a good human being and help the world through processes that makes our world better. And that's the stuff I love, man.
So on that, like on just processes to make the world better, what emerging trends in terms of like workforce development should people in leadership positions be preparing for now?
Well, one, we hear it a lot, right? And this is something that we have in the company. We have truly forced ourselves to just go that direction. Is the integration of AI into learning and development, workforce education. That was one where we go in and we just teach, right? There you go in, you can teach. My old boss used to say this: you can have some poor curriculum, not well written curriculum, but a great instructor, and people will have a phenomenal encounter. You have a bad instructor and a great material, but it's going to go over like a from church, right? And but what I realized also, but if you take a combination of great instructors, great curriculum, be very dynamic, and also I think the word I'm looking for is diverse in the different things that's out there, and to be able to have it at your fingertips and then incorporate it. And I believe that AI and the components of it is really revolutionizing what we do, like from scale.
Yeah.
I think that's important. One thing that we're doing is, and we like to call it our secret sauce, right? Anyone can do it, but there's a way in which we do it. But uh, you can have a curriculum, and then you can go to multiple places, teach the same thing, and just say, "Oh, I'm customizing, or I'm tailoring it," or whatever the word you want to use. But the truth is, people really don't want that. They don't know what they want until they get it, right? That's some people will say, but I believe that people know what they want, and they'll know when they see it. And so what we try to do is those discovery calls that gives us enough information to where we're not necessarily tailoring or customizing. We're actually building from scratch.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. We were in the last 3 weeks, we've been to multiple places, and we taught a concept that was, let's say, change management. But when each encounter was just so different, because what they're experiencing in corporation A and what organization and the DoD is facing here, although two different, entities, right? But their change is different. But AI kind of helped us to kind of build it and then go through a process to validate and make sure it's going to be effective. I've watched many of our friends, they're like, "Oh, it's been validated 6 months, we've been teaching it and we've gotten feedback." The truth is, uh, curriculum don't take that long to build. And being a curriculum guy myself, I've learned, sorry the long answer, but it's
No,
just,
this is good.
it is the sauce of how do you scale, how do you bring things to light, and also how are you doing it in such a way to where it's reactive, it's proactive, but also reactive to make the changes. You're going in with a 95% product, but if you have a great instructor, it is 95 to 100% to the people who's in it, and we'll make the tweaks along the way. And so we have kind of a method, I feel, and I think that's the most emerging thing right now, is to be able to incorporate that within that learning development space and be able to redefine it. It's not just learning and development. It's business solutions. When you walk in, everybody just don't want an instructor. They want, do you have other platforms to help us with coaching? Do you have the ability to sit in on a strategic offsite and do A, B, C, and D?
Yeah.
So those are the things I'm most excited about, and also see the changes.
One of the best instructors that I've ever had was at the time Senior Master Sergeant Demetrius Booth, who eventually went on to become
I've seen,
Chief
yes,
Booth.
and
When
he
I went
is
to Senior NCO
amazing.
Academy, he was
Yeah,
the instructor. You talked about
amazing.
the secret sauce. For him, I think his secret sauce, it's something we all know. Like, to me, it was vulnerability.
Mhm.
And I think with secret sauce, everyone knows about vulnerability is so key, but like the ingredients of that sauce is different for everyone. In terms of like you mentioned processes and secret sauce, how would you describe the importance of vulnerability in the secret sauce?
Yeah. That's one I struggled with, especially when I was writing my dissertation. It's you know, probing into vulnerability, but I also, especially serving for 28 and a half years. And I also know that I'm part of the profession of arms, where, you know, our job's to do some pretty hard stuff and see hard things and get through those hard things. But your vulnerability can also be seen as a weakness. So how do you balance sharing, but also having individuals, understand that you are a leader, but you're meeting each other on a certain plane. I don't want to say levels, because I believe everybody's on the same, everybody's human beings, right? But vulnerability is important because people need to hear where mistakes were made and where trials and tribulations were encountered, but also the perseverance, the patience, and everything else got them there. But what I've learned throughout my career, unlike me, who've been through, some turbulent times, there are people who don't have a lot of hard, hard issues, or hard things they fought through. But they were amazing leaders. I remember one, was a young guy who made chief at like 13, 14 years. Man, 15, I think it was legally,
Yeah.
but it was like 15. And amazing guy, amazing leader. But it was hard being in a room with him because he never really faced anything. But he was an amazing leader and could lead. And I would charge a hill with him. But he didn't offer a lot of vulnerability. But what he offered was the way to take his way to connect with you and listen to your story and allow you to share your vulnerability, but be able to listen in such a way to where you were the most important person in the room. And so what I learned from him was there's a balance where as a leader, even though I've been through certain things, I may not share my vulnerability. Maybe it's making sure that you are the most important person in the room, where I'm gonna listen to you and then be able to offer something, or be able to have a conversation where you are able to be yourself. And that's the fine balance I've picked up from mentors and leaders who do so well in that space.
Yeah, I was looking at your LinkedIn and something caught my eye. You wrote this fantastic post, I think sometime late last week, regarding vulnerability.
Mhm.
And it really connected with me. And in that article, you talked about struggling with identity, self-doubt, and comparison after a 28 and a half year career. I'm at 23, so you definitely had 5 more years than me, but it connected with me because I'm experiencing those emotions and feelings right now, and those thoughts. But can you just take us back to that moment? What did it feel like to hit like that low? And what was the turning point that helped you start climbing back up?
Oh man, you didn't tell me we were gonna cry on the show.
Sorry, man. Hey, my bad, man. If you don't want to answer, we can go. I got some lighter stuff if you want to go into that, man. But I just,
we're good now. My wife asked this, and this is something I shared openly. She's like, "Why share now?" And I said, I don't want people to look at me and think that I got it all together.
Yeah,
because I've done the song and dance. I've gone to all the retirements. I'm wearing nice.
Casey, I might interject real quick. From my perspective, it does seem like you have it all together because, and that's why, like, I love that you shared that, because you said, again, what did you say? I don't want people to think I have it all together, because from the outside looking in, you do have it together. It's like you're this pinnacle, this polished, highly respected, highly revered chief who generals are listening to. You know, you got your doctorate, and I mean, you're pretty much a 30-year chief. So you think about all the experience and knowledge you gained along the way.
Yeah.
So that vulnerability, seeing that post, I was thinking strength is more than how much you can lift in the gym. It's about how vulnerable you can be. And just for that feedback, man, yeah, I just want to give you that direct feedback.
And I felt, I thank you, man. And I share things. And let me just say this: when you see my socials, probably 98% of it is the truth, right? I mean, 98% of it meaning that's my life. 2% when I tease my wife about her cooking, that's probably, I throw in one every now and again that's not true. But what you see is me, is my life. And we are happy. There are great things happening. But what I don't share is the things that go wrong. And I remember walking in. This was a couple of months ago. I'm at a location talking, doing this speech, and we had about 400 or 500 folks in that training, and this one person just kept looking at me, man, and was like, "How? I mean, like, you just retired, you know, you got all these things, and you know, man, and shared. I don't want to share their story, but they shared something with me that was so personal. And the thing you asked about vulnerability, man, I had to pause for a second, and I had to say, look, because this person actually follows me, and they asked, like, man, you always have it together. You always, your wife, and this and that. Well, we had 5 miscarriages. You know, we had these things. We had these things happen, but we also have a faith system that allows us to look at life in a way that allows us to keep on moving, right? And so going back to your question on the post was that conversation there around, like, where people see that everything is just falling into place, and because I had this trajectory, this lifestyle, this thing that people saw, and everything is great, but they don't know that, you know, yeah, I finished my doctorate, but also I had nothing else. Like, I put all my eggs into that basket, because I'm like, I retired. You know, I didn't do skill bridge. I focused just on that school. When that schooling was done, I had nothing else. Like, that is I was waking up literally at 5:30 in the morning. I would do that all day because that's what it took.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, I started getting some opportunities to go and do some work here and there. But then I remember getting a text message, man, and they say, "Hey, KC, you okay?" Only one person reached out, and I'm sharing this. I'm sharing this for the first time, so don't judge, okay?
No.
I'm getting together. Um, and she circled my waistline, and she was like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm got, same jeans on." And she was like, "Yeah, just, make sure you're taking care of your fitness." I was 275 pounds and didn't even know it.
How tall are you? You're like 6'3" or something, right?
I'm 6'4".
6'4", yeah.
But that's still, that's still not where I need to be, because I know what happens when I'm holding that kind of weight. My skin, my knees, my back, everything, right? I'm not making this about weight. What I'm making this is about is I was not healthy. I was depressed. I was staying in bed. But I would get dressed and I would go to these retirements, and people would see, "Oh man, you're looking good. You're doing this." No, I'm just good, good lotion that I'm wearing that makes me, and good smell good and stuff, right? But at the end of the day, man, I was not happy. And that breaking point was when my wife and I decided that it was time for us to, give our life to God. And that was in December, late December, and we said, "You know what? It's time," because there was so much baggage, man, from, trials and tribulations, from things that we faced as a couple in our attempt to have a kid. There was other things that were going on. We had debts in the family, and it was just, man, it was just hitting us left and right, man, left and right. And but we're taught to play the part. We're taught to walk out of home, look the part, smell the part, be the part, right? And I just say, you know what? Bump that. No more. No more. I'm going to be open about transition. I lost friends doing transition because they didn't know what I was going through. But, on the other end, there's a guy that's day drinking and, and texting things and, probably not even coherent on some of the things I'm talking about. But still, I was going down this rabbit hole, this roller coaster where I just knew I had to do better. I owed my family that. I owed my wife that, because she'd been riding with me through this. She's seen the best parts of me. And now for the first time in her life, she now gets to see a part of me that is awful. A person that's not waking up, hard charging, doing stuff, depressed, sad, crying, hurt, She told me about this. She said, Keith, you're going to go through this. And I said, no, not me. Man, I'm a chief in the Air Force. I've been through this and I got friends and I'm going to be okay. And just the other day, man, I had to apologize to her. I said, I'm sorry, because she'd been through it. She did 20 years and she told me that this was going to happen. And I pushed her to the side and said, no, it won't. And here it is. It hit me 10 times worse than it hit her.
Well, thank you for opening up. And you didn't have to share that, but I appreciate the vulnerability and that insight, man. So again, thank you. I have some. We'll transition to some lighter questions.
No, you can ask whatever you want, man. Let's keep it organic.
Yeah, no. So but I did want to. I do have some lighter questions, and I think it'll kind of spawn some other conversation. And so I feel like I'm a huge basketball fan. And I love Kobe. Right, Kobe was a phenomenal player. One of the things I respected most about him was his detail and attention to the game. So he studied other players. So I study other podcasts, and then I think of questions, like fun questions to ask people. It's a fun game to me. But the intent of those questions, it takes us back to a time where people probably don't necessarily think about it every single day. But my question is, if I was sitting down from you in seventh grade, let's just say I'm two seats from you, what would I see?
Man, you would see me joking. You would see me clowning in the classroom. You would see me passing notes, thinking about basketball, the same thing, and getting ready for either gym class or playing on the basketball team I played in seventh grade. But you also see a kid who would stay in the room, also who's looking around the room, always thinking about threats, always looking for the positive people in the room, always seeing the people that will accept me for who I am, because I'm from a different part of town, and I'm going to a school that's a little different than what I grew up what I grew up every day around.
Yeah.
And so I'm the guy that's kind of studying and making sure that I'm in a safe place, and that that I'm not going to get harmed. So you kind of seen two folds: a silly, crazy guy, but also a guy that's going to be aware of his surroundings, and But if you're looking at me, you're probably going to see a guy too who will probably see you looking and then come and ask you like, hey, how you doing? And kind of introduce myself and make you feel and know that you're welcome, at least in my world, because, I want to learn from different people, especially people who don't look like me.
Yeah. Yeah. So throughout all your everything, whether growing up or even your military career, what's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to you?
Just recently, we talked about the Air Force, Sergeant Association, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a young gentleman who came to me afterwards and said, I want to be just like you. And he said, yeah, because, I don't know how to put this, but it's just a different environment, right? Like, when I walk into that room, you don't necessarily see me in that room, whether it's my height, my age group, I'm African American, there's so many different areas of diversity, when you walk into that room. And I wouldn't call it a hostile environment, but it was definitely different because I'm in an environment where these individuals are smarter and great at what they do within this world. And I'm this outsider, right? And so I did my work, did my research, walked in there, and I'm, like I said, I was called to serve. So I'm not talking on behalf of Keith. I'm talking on behalf of the person inside of me, that God has put and said, hey, this is in your heart. And so I'm speaking from that zone, right? When they ask me a question, I'm being honest, I'm being open, I'm being transparent about everything, and then, but I'm also telling them that I do have a vision. I do want to follow the vision of Steve. And so this guy comes to me afterwards and he says, man, the way you handled yourself, the way you articulated certain things, he said, I want to be just like you. I love what he said, but I had to reframe it for him. I said, no, sir, the person, I said, you're going to be better, because, I wouldn't put on dessert to create more me's, or to hand it off to someone to say, hey, you be just like me. I want you to be better, because this is, there were some missed opportunities and things I could have done better. I didn't say it that kind of way, but I said it in such a way to where it was thank you, I appreciate you, but gentlemen, you need to do better. You need to be better than I am, because the world is changing.
Was there a pivotal moment in your career that kind of changed or shaped your philosophy on leadership and service? Because I felt like you talking to that person, that's going to be something they remember 20 years from now. But yeah, do you have any stories like that when you were coming up?
Yeah, Chief David Lawrence, man, up at the NCO Academy in Capone, Germany. I arrived there in 2008. He became the commandant in 2010, I believe. And that's Amber Mitchell. We talked about her earlier. That was my supervisor, at the NCO Academy.
I'm still waiting on my salsa from her though. So she's
I got like man, I got like a stash. I'm waiting for the apocalypse. So if you want, I got you.
All right, go ahead.
I'll just bill her. I'll bill her. Say, hey, I milled some more. But yeah, man, Chief David Lawrence, man. I've never seen this in my entire career. This is now probably came in 95. So this is 15, 14 years in. I'm at the academy, and he walks in and he said, thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in today. That was his thing. And so I would look at Chief Lawrence and I'm like, Chief, I'm supposed to be here. And he changed my philosophy of leadership, because he said at that moment, he said, yeah, if you don't come into work, there's going to be repercussions and consequences. But every day you don this uniform, every day you wake up, you have a choice. You're a grown man. He said, you have a choice. And he said, but you chose to come in today without the repercussions, the repercussions and things. But he would do this every class, every day, every moment. He would thank us for coming in today. And he valued the fact that we are working under him to do good work. That changed my leadership philosophy. And I stopped looking at people as more of a transactional thing, because you chose to join the military. You chose to join this job or do this particular function. You chose to, whether there's repercussions if you choose not to do it anymore, but you chose. And whether and I get it, you getting the paycheck on the 1st and the 15th, once a month, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you are doing work and doing something to help advance this thing. I'm going to thank you. Change my philosophy, and it transcends to so many different other areas that to this day I continue to use. I appreciate people for what they come in with, and also what they're going to give to others.
I'll make sure to tag him in this episode.
Well, unfortunately, he passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we went to his funeral. It was a guy that touched so many lives. Was taken way too soon in a car accident, man. Was one of the hardest funerals I've ever been to, watching, not only a chief, but a good brother, someone I look up to, get buried, man. So it was hard.
To me, that's one of the beauties of podcasting. Podcasting can help people's legacy carry on, and their voice. Sorry to hear that, but things like this allow the opportunity for you to continue to speak on it, say their name in a positive light.
Yeah, and he wouldn't want me to be sad, so I'm not sad, because that's him. He created a million of us who have taken his leadership and his legacy, and who who have given it to thousands of others. So yeah, his name and his message lives on.
So if I asked you whose career blueprint do you admire or want to emulate, would your answer be him, or is there someone else that comes to mind?
Man, I never thought of that. If I were to emulate, man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because I think about, I call him the GOAT, right? Chief K. Wright, our Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force number 18, K. Wright. I think of Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force number 19, Joanne Bass, but I also think of, man, all the chiefs. I had an opportunity in my time to meet at least 8 or 9 of them, right? Even Chief, why am I forgetting?
Gaylor.
Chief Gaylor, the first Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, Chief Airy. I met him at Tyndall. So he used to come. So I was stationed at Tyndall for 7 years, and he used to come to the academy all the time, and just, so I actually had one-on-one conversations, and being at the academy, we host a lot of them, right? I think all those individuals are good when I look at their careers. Some of them had trials and tribulations and made through, and still, and some were the first, like number 19 was the first. But I also see some young airmen, some young officers doing some amazing things. And I'm watching my son now, man. In fact, I'm putting together something to push out on him. And I'm watching him, like, he's paving his own way, like, getting his master's. He's at 23. He's 23 years old. He's got all these IT certifications. And so when I go back, I'm like, man, I wish I had the strength, the toughness to go that route like he did. He didn't even join the military. He's going in a different route. I would say, man, I would say I'm more like a goulash. I would love to take pieces from all the greats that's out there. You got individuals, man, like that's even in this world, like the Simmons, and I was with Mike Perry, a couple of weeks ago, and just standing next to him, man, and the things that he's achieved in his career, like pretty amazing. Individuals like, Wendy T, those folks, like just amazing heart, and just everything's about passion. So I wouldn't take one person. Sorry for the long answer.
No, this is good, man. This is podcast.
I would just, man. You remember that episode? I think was it Wolverine, where they made the new, like, superhero, but he had like all these different powers. He had like, that would be me. Like, I have a K. Wright power, Perry power, and all these different folks, man, that are just great, but not just folks that have achieved this far greatness. There are young folks, man, that's doing some amazing things, and in life right now. I would love to grab hold of. I would love to have a voice like Martin Luther King, like to be able to walk into a room and be able to can captivate folks, and not only just captivate them with inspiration and motivation, but also they will walk out and want to actually do something. That's powerful, right? And so, yeah, man, I would love to just be like a big gumbo.
That might be the name. Who knows of the episode Gumbo? The recipe for gumbo. K. Wright's been on my podcast twice. Once was back in April of 2018, so he was 6 or 7 months into his SimSAT time.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then actually 2 years ago at AFSA, so maybe like a year or two post-retirement. Joe Bass was on earlier this year.
Yep.
She was funny. You and I we were talking before. We were talking about organic, questions and all that. So I didn't send her anything ahead of time, and I told her, I'm just going to ask you organic questions. And I wasn't trying to do gotcha, but I was sending her some tough questions. She was like, Martin, what is wrong with you? It was funny. It was very, lighthearted. But I asked her a question. I said, hey, when you left the Pentagon, you're walking down those steps. After we obviously see the videos of the people getting the clap out at the Pentagon. I asked her in that moment, what are you running from? And what are you running toward? And she gave me a hard time about that one. She was like, "Where are you getting these questions?" And if you happen to talk to her, please tell her that, "Hey, I recorded a." It's an inside joke, but I recorded a podcast with. I can't think of his name. It's an inside joke. She'll appreciate it. And if you go back and watch that episode, you'll see the full context. Transitioning. So, what are you world class at that people might not know?
What people might not know. Oh man, that's just hard because you asked some hard questions, man. Because I'm not trying. Yeah, like I'm like I said, 98% of my Facebook, besides some of my wife cooking, is real, right? But what people may not know, I would say this is that I give you an example. Let me share an example. I would reach out to people just out of the blue because I see something going on, or I'll just reach out because I see something, and people will think, oh man, that's an ulterior motive. That's, oh, you must want something, or it's this or that. But people, I would say, what most people don't know until they get to know me or truly sit down with me for 10 minutes, they realize I am one of the most giving, loyal people you will ever meet. And without, I don't do anything for a tip or a tap or for something in return. And I believe that the way the world is, that people automatically put you in a box that you can't be doing this for free. You can't be doing this for that reason. Then they realize, like, there are good people in the world who will do some things and will do some amazing things. So I would just say, for me, what people may not know about me is that um, I will give everything I own to help people. My wife gets on me about being so loyal to a fault, right? Or so giving, but I just can't stop that. If I see someone that needs, I'm gonna stop. I'm going to give them the clothes on my back. And it's something I cannot break. I don't know what it is, and it came to mind because I recently got in trouble for it, but it's I'm there for people, man. I never want. I do not like to see people suffer. I do not like to see people hurt. And I want to be able to give my all, but but I also learned, that, when I'm hurting, you won't get that same thing reciprocated. Not that I'm going to change because other people don't do it. I can't expect me from others, right? But what I do expect from others is, like Martin, if I treat you good, I'm giving you love and kindness, just show me that in return, and don't treat me bad. That's so I don't have expectation. I would say I have expectations. I don't want anything in return, but that's an expectation. Like, if I treat you good, treat me good.
No, I think what is that? Is that the cardinal rule or the golden rule or?
It's golden rule, but then the platinum rule, and it is. Yeah. I get them all mixed up now. I hear it so much.
No, that's good. I've been guilty of that. Is where I give into others, and I used to get upset when I didn't receive that wasn't reciprocated, or people were felt dismissive, or people were dismissive toward me, and I had to realize that I can't expect like that same, but it made it easier to swallow that pill. Realize that the reason I'm doing this because I want to do well I want to do this for other people, just out of the kindness of the heart.
Yeah.
Switching gears, when you think of a movie image that depicts leadership, and it doesn't have to be a military movie, but again, a movie image that depicts leadership, who or what comes to mind?
Man, I can go the cliche of Band of Brothers. I thought that was amazing, but I grew up watching hood movies, man. I'm just gonna keep it 100.
What were some of your favorites? Because I did too. Like I took myself from like the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah. New Jack City, Boys in the Hood.
Shout out to Ricky.
Casino. Yeah, Casino, man. I love the gangster movies, and but one thing, because where I grew up, man, like that was our heroes. When we saw those individuals who were making it, who were coming up from the street, who made it, made money their way, right? We're kind of like, I would say, until I got immersed into what right is. um that's the kind of movies I looked at, and that was like my heroes, right? Like, oh man, and Nino Brown, but one thing I learned from that, and I'm not highlight the things that they've done to make money. I'm just making a comparison here. uh those guys were very smart. They were the best businessmen and women you've ever seen in your life. Think about it, like Nino Brown and the Castille, Scarface, like the best business, understood, supplying them. You go down the line, right? But they were in the wrong business.
Yeah.
They were doing bad stuff. But when you really think about it, like, these were, if they would use their powers for good versus evil, like, they would truly be individuals of this time that we would talk about for years, if they were real, right?
Yeah.
That we would talk about for years. But that's, I would say, growing up is watching movies where I saw the underdog just kind of prove themselves to be, like, was it Seabiscuit?
Yeah.
The underdog that just comes out and just wins because they've been counted out and spit it on, and not given an opportunity.
Did you ever watch The Wire?
Dude,
Of course, right?
That should have been my number one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Stringer Bell,
Stringer
when he's trying to bring, when Stringer Bell was taking the classes,
Yeah.
and he's trying to talk to these guys. He was like, market share, distribution.
I said Tinkerbell, Stringer Bell.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. And movies like that, man. And I still watch. As a matter of fact, I told myself I want to go back and actually rewatch it. But I've been in The Chi, man. I've been watching The Chi. The Chi is, like, I tell my wife, it's horribly good.
Mm-hmm.
You got what's on right now? The BMF. BMF on Stars. It's with Big Meech in them. It's some of those types of movies. But it's horribly good. Like, it's because you already know how it ends. Because that's based on a true story. But yeah, so I don't look up to them guys. I just love reading about and hearing about and watching their tactics and how they moved back in the day. But I just wish there was in different businesses how powerful these individuals would be today.
That's a great perspective. That's an answer. I asked that question a lot, but that's never anything I've ever heard before. So that's a great, unique perspective, and there's great reasoning behind it. I also want to give a shout out again to Ricky, one of the saddest movie deaths I've ever seen. It's just, he was going to do big things at USC.
Yeah, I saw a post the other day. It was like, it was, I guess he died like 30 years ago or something.
Yeah.
On this day. Yeah. Ricky died 30 years ago or something. But Ricky doing pretty good in his afterlife. He's doing pretty good,
So I do wonder the actor Morris Chestnut. Is it Morris or Mark Chestnut? I forget the first name.
Yeah.
But I wonder how many times he gets called Ricky.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I watch the power shows, and those actors on the power shows, they talk about how people come up and they're up to them like mad, like, why'd you do that? Like, it's not a real show, right?
It's funny. All right, last couple questions. If there's a giant billboard with your picture on it, with your young, moisturized looking skin, and this can be on any highway or anywhere, a giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see. Where would you want that billboard to be? And what would you want that billboard to say?
Oh, wow. I mean, I have to cheat on this one. I would actually do it in two places, but I would say one place would be in Africa. Our team was able to do some work in Africa this year. We're going back here in a couple of weeks. It's being around such beautiful people who may not have the things that we have, but they love life, and they just care, right? And they believe in something bigger than themselves, even with the troubles and the trials that they go through. I would love to have it in one of those countries, and just to say, I don't know, with the with the hand reaching down to lift them up. Because I believe, I don't care if you're in any city of Detroit, if you are someone that lives in Russia, human beings is human beings, and we all need to be lifted. If you are in situations where you don't have, or you in need, and I just believe that we all should be, if we're in a position where we can lift someone up. So it just be, I don't even want to show my face. I just want to show just my hand. If I could, it would just be my hand helping someone up, both hands, really, if I could. The second place would probably be, I would say my hometown. I would never go back to my hometown, because I felt that you said something earlier, either you're running towards something or you run away from something, and I feel like, home was home. That's where my mom lived. But I would also like to show, individuals, boys, girls that's there, like, you can get out of this environment if you just take a leap of faith. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew it was the right, I was making the right call, and you make that decision. And that's what it would say on that billboard. Just see something different than what you see here. And
I love it.
Let's see how life would look on the other side.
I did when I was going to ask you, what is one piece of wisdom you would pass on to the next generation of people to help them light their own torch and carry it forward?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you would have a different answer from that. It sounds like that might be the same answer. Would you have a different answer for that question, or would you go with your billboard?
Specific to that question, I would just say, I would tell them that you are better, and you're not less than. You hear a lot of conversations about this next generation and why they're so different. And let's be honest, I heard the same thing in my generation. I'm kind of in that cut line, and you heard the same thing coming up too, right? And just, with so much more propaganda and so much more access to social media, they can probably start to believe it, unlike us, who we know the fine balance between what's real and not, especially based on our jobs. Like, we know that's not real, but some of the young ones now, they don't know the difference. I would just tell them, just believe in your abilities, and don't get caught up in the gender, not gender, but the what was it called? Different. I teach this all the time. The different generation. They only call it the generation discussion. Just be a good human being. Be a good human being. Do the hard work, and don't cut corners.
That's awesome, Casey. I appreciate it. It's a great response, man. And I love that. Is there anything you want to plug, or anything you just want to promote or shout out before we close out?
No. Well, one, I want to give you a huge shout out, man, for reaching out to me. I'm just an old retiree, man, just sitting in my basement, in the Blue Lab, and I still have the Blue Lab sign up, me and Blaze. Man, just I would just say thanks, man, for the opportunity to share, and hopefully your listeners will grab something, and then give you your flowers, man. Like, I'm looking at your podcast, man, and and I'm looking at some of the people on there, and yeah, you got some amazing people, man. And some got some crazy views, some got, hey, it's, it depends on which platform, right? When you look, you can probably be fooled that only 10 people looked at this, or 63 people looked at this one, but you go to another platform, it's like, oh, people are viewing these things, and that's the consistency, man. So I just want to applaud you for your consistency, and not getting caught up with the likes. I'll post something sometimes, man, and maybe one person will like. I don't know what the algorithm does. I'm not deleting it. That one person saw it, and you know what? That one person's going to do something with it. And so I just applaud your consistency and your ability to bring good content to the world, and just continue to do that, brother. That's what I would end with.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. Thanks, Casey. You just made my day, bro.
You made mine. This is wonderful to be here, brother.
Thanks. What can I do for you? How can I best serve you?
here's what I need. And you know, and I'm a simple guy, and I tell my friends knows this. They know that I'm an easy friend. You know, John Maxwell says this. I'm an easy friend. All I ask, man, is that, you know, when I come across your heart, just text me. And if you really want to make my day, just call me. That's it. You know, and we started off in the conversation. I said, you know, you don't get that second chance, right? You don't get that time to say goodbye. And I'm noticing now, you know, at the tender age of, you know, coming up on my 50s in a couple of years, we're gonna see a lot more funerals than weddings, probably, right? And so when people come across your heart, just call them. Just say hello. You know, just what you doing, or just, you know, I think that is the most important thing that we can do in our life, because you never know what that one call will do. That's what you can do for me. Anything I can do for you?
No, man. You being on my show, and I was just, you know, we're texting, or we're messaging on LinkedIn, and you know, when I reached out to you, and you know, we're going back and forth in conversation. All we see is just the words. But, you know, you didn't actually get to see my face. But I wish you could have known in that moment how elated I was when you more than just said, "Yeah, I'll do your show." You were like, I could feel the excitement on your end, and it made me feel so honored that because you're doing big things, and you're someone I look up to and admire. You know, and again, just the willingness and just like the quick communication, the quick responses you had with me, like, "Hey man, let's make this work." And I mean, it made my week more than just my day, man. It just really made me feel good because I beat myself up a lot. The toughest conversations I ever have are usually with myself. I've gotten better at it, right? I have, you know, I've been going to therapy. It's been helpful. I've been talking all this stuff out. In the past couple years, I didn't talk about it as much when I was actually in uniform, because I didn't want anyone, but I in my retirement speech, I talked about there's a line I had in my retirement speech where I said, "How do you catch a falling star? How do you fix a broken heart that's been shattered into a million pieces? What do you do? Or how do you get through? Or how do you move forward when you feel like you're not living but merely existing?" This is what I said. Yeah. And then these are all rhetorical questions. So I said that in my speech, and then my answer to my own question was, for me, it was through God.
Wow.
But being able to talk about that stuff, you know, getting therapy, it's been tremendous. I'm still battling a lot of things, but you know, conversations, connecting with people like you just makes me feel more like, you know, Superman gets his strength from the sun. I'm a big comic book person too, right? Superman gets his strength from the sun. He flies to the sun. You know, that's how he gets his strength and all that. Me connecting with people through podcasting is my Superman soaking up the powers from the sun. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
I'm gonna